Namaskar, salam, hello to everybody. My name is Nishtha Satyam. I am the Deputy Country Representative for UN Women in India. UN Women is the entity of the United Nations that works for women's empowerment and gender equality. I am delighted to be able to be with you here today to share my journey thus far. A journey that has been filled with grit, determination, highs and lows. A lot of people ask me, how are you here? How are you the youngest woman to represent the UN in a host country? The answer to me so far has been simple. Hard work, discipline, gumption, and belief in myself. The reason that I use the word gumption is because it takes a lot to believe in yourself against all your grooming, against all odds, against everything that the world has so far been telling you. The essence of my conversation with you today is how do we contemplate our coherenza. The word coherenza defines an area in the bull ring from where the bull draws its strength and feels safe. It describes a place of strength, of character, creating a sense of safety. But how do we recognize what we are made for? How do we know our strength? How do we know that place that gives us strength before we assume it? Sharpen your skill, ignite your ambition. The very basis of change is getting rid of the fear to dream. My dream started when I was 6 years old, traveling with my parents in the streets of New York, when my father had gone there to study in a university. We were going around the city in a borrowed car, when we stopped by a building that was bordered by the flags of so many countries. At that point, it seemed like a colorful place to be, an exciting place to be. My father stopped the car, pulled over, and got me down for a minute. He looked at me and said, "This is the UN. Will you remember it? Remember to work for it when you grow up." Soon, years passed by, things changed, my dreams changed. I forgot about that moment that I had had as a 6-year-old. But many years later, one day when I was working for the corporate sector, the dream came back to me in a flash, realizing itself as ambition. I quickly Googled the website of the UN and applied for the first job that I saw. Never did I think that the journey from there would be so exciting, so driving, so difficult, but a journey that was full of ambition. The most important thing to find your place of strength is to realize your dream, is to be known for it and for making it known. Not for a moment, though I deeply inside my heart felt that it was ambitious of me to be thinking about working for the UN, a world organization. But never for a moment did I hold back my dreams from those who loved me. The basis of finding that place of strength is also relating your dream to those who love you and those who will support you. What is the most important part of my work? The most important part of my work is to reach out to the youth, young people of this country, for you to understand the issues that plague our country and the world even in 2021, issues that divide half of humanity from the other. I'm here today to talk to you about the impact of mobilizing one half of humanity in support of the other, of mobilizing the youth towards a vision of a world that is more equal, a vision that is based on gender justice, a vision that includes all and appeals to all. The need of the hour is to unpack the potential, the potency of the youth to participate in processes of governance, to participate in the making of history. But why do we want young people to be at the heart of change? Because intergenerational dialogue will ensure that young people will not only be carnations on the bouquet of change, the largest untapped constituency in the world, youth and women. The overlap of this represents a plethora of opportunities of change that the world today wants to see. Demand change because change needs to take place now, and it needs to happen now. As someone very famous said, if not now, then when? If not me, then who? I want to remind young people to ask themselves, how do you want to talk about change at every level? How do you want to talk about accountability at every level? How do you want to be seen as the patrons of change, but also the flag bearers of a more equal world? What does a feminist world look like? How do you identify an inclusive future? What will anchor the conversation stemming from this? How can we accelerate the participation of youth? Today, I'm here to urge all of you to participate in the processes of your country, to know more about the issues that keep us from becoming the most potent power in the world, to plant yourselves in places of decision making, to take interest in processes that govern decision making. I dreamt long back, and I'm here today leading UN Women as one of the youngest leader the organization has had. If I can, so can you. But before we get there, there are some important things that I might remind you of. We need to include women in the conversations that we're having. We need to hear their voice on what equality means to them. We need to hear their voices on what change means to them. We need to bring women on the table. Like it said, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. For very, very long, the world has left behind its women. Today, let's take a pledge as young members of the most vibrant democracy in the world to not leave 50% of the team back. Today, let's pledge together to identify and agree with the goal of gender equality. Today, let's come together to realize the potency of that dream. Let me also remind you that historically, more than ever before, today, gender equality is a real possibility, which means that if all of us come together and push hard in one direction, we may say that world that we have dreamt of. But if you and I do nothing differently than what we did yesterday, then we're looking at a world that is gender equal only in 2089. The goal that the UN has set for itself along with its member states is 2030. 2089 against 2030. That shows us the urgency, the scope to do something differently so that we realize this dream and this goal in our lifetime. I'm glad that today we're looking at gender responsiveness of legislation. We're looking at gender responsiveness of infrastructure. We're looking at gender responsiveness on every single thing that governs this country. Let me also take this opportunity to tell you, mostly we avoid looking at the voices of women by using the principles of gender neutrality. If you're not for women, you're against women mostly. If you're not gender responsive, you are gender oppressive. The idea here is to create a world that responds to the differences in how women consume, in how different women are from men. While we're on the topic of change, it is also important to identify and to appreciate that our goals and our dreams are placed in one of the most progressive constitutions of the world, in one of the most affirmatively legislated constitutions of the world that allow us to grow in a gender-just society. Today, we're proudly placed as one of the most roaring countries in the world that is actually talking about women-led development. I want you to remind you of how we've moved from women in development, women for development, development for women, to women-led development. This, to me, is the most iconic change that we have made to our language, articulating that women and girls need to be at the center of the world that we conceive. Today, I urge each one of you as young members to be a part of this change, along with me, along with world organizations, along with numerous of us that come together to realize one dream: an equal world for you and me, equal opportunities for you and me, equal pay for these opportunities for you and me. And I hope that you will all pledge, put your hands forward and put your hands up to be a part of this movement, a movement where we will leave, hopefully, a better and a more equal world to our peers and to the ones behind us. Thank you.